Mohnish Pabrai. Some people like to call him the Indian Warren Buffett. He's Indian American, he's a businessman, he's a billionaire, and he's quite a famous value investor. And if you've been watching my channel for a bit, I'm sure you know what a value investor is. They're a particular type of investor who looks for companies with high value compared to their price. Now, Mohnish is not a big buyer of stocks in today's market. If you look at his portfolio, he's barely made any moves in a matter of years. But he has made one big move. He's made one large purchase worth 14.6% of his entire portfolio, and that purchase is Alibaba. Ticker symbol BABA, he bought 168,000 shares of them. But the question is why? Why has Pabrai been mainly selling stocks, but the big purchase that he has made is Alibaba? Why did he choose this particular Chinese company? Let's see what he has to say for himself.
I mean, if you look at my filings, you can see that we have a position in Alibaba. And it's an incredible business. I mean, just if you look at Baba and Tencent and kind of where they're at and the ecosystem and the moat and what they control and, all of that, look at the tailwinds from China. I mean, there's a lot to me to like even more than the large US tech, just because I think that the tailwinds are so much stronger and there's some serious barriers to entry. But on the other side, it cannot do what Resas can do. What I'm saying, I buy a 20 million market cap, which has liquidation value of 800 million. That's a 40x.
Right.
And it's a 40x with no future value creation, just the arbitrage of price and value. I think here there is obviously going to be much larger revenues and profits and such in the future with all the different things they have going on. But you're starting from a very large base, right? So 600 billion plus market cap. It's very cheap. I think Baba is one of the cheapest plays out there.
There should be a couple of things that I hope you picked up from that clip. So first of all, at the end of it, he talked about Alibaba being very cheap. If we look at Alibaba's price today, it's around the same price it was 4 years ago. And we all know we've had a massive bull run since then, but one of the stocks that hasn't followed this is Alibaba. And I remember back in 2017, there was a lot of investors saying Alibaba was cheap even back then. And that's back when they were earning a whole lot less money and the balance sheet wasn't even as nice. So by today's standards, it's selling for a complete bargain. But as Pabrai said, it's not just a cheap stock. It's a stock with an incredible business model behind it. They have that whole e-commerce ecosystem with Tmall and Taobao for its Chinese customers. And then they've got Alibaba.com for its global site for wholesale trade. And they got AliExpress more for individual global consumers. That's the one that I use. And can I say you can get some pretty cheap things on AliExpress? I'll just say that. But on top of this, and this is what some people are sleeping on, and that's their cloud segment to their business. This segment is underrated, and I'm going to let Pabrai explain because he'll probably do it a whole lot better than me.
In the long term, I think a lot of the value creation for them is cloud, which is non-existent from an earnings perspective today. They have some scale, but they're the number one player. But I think that when you look at Amazon's numbers, and Amazon's numbers with cloud are somewhat misleading because they dump their internal cloud expense in there. So actually, 50 billion revenue and 15 billion net income is actually understated. So I think they're making more than 15 on that because they're growing as well. They're investing in all the future growth. So the cloud margins are incredible. And the issue with the cloud is that very few people can play. I mean, in the US, the game is for the most part over. You've got the players, and they will. It's hard to even see them even changing the position they're in.
So you've got cloud computing growth, e-commerce growth. They even own the Chinese version of YouTube called Yokutoru. Sorry if my pronunciation's a bit off, but I'm not Chinese. As Pabrai said, it's a great business going for a cheap price. Then you look at Alibaba and it's got this huge tailwind behind it, and that's the growth of China. China, in terms of business and in terms of the economy, is growing almost 3 times quicker than the USA. So that's pushing Alibaba's growth from behind, a tailwind. That's the best way to explain it. But you've got some investors who are wondering, what about the risk of increased regulation from the Chinese government? That's a good question. Let's see what Pabrai says.
I think Alibaba is a crown jewel for China, just like Tencent is a crown jewel for them. So I don't think they will want to do things. These are the plays that have the possibility of global footprints, that they can get there. So I don't think the government is going to take an approach which is going to kill the golden goose, if you will. Mm-hmm. So my take is they've extracted their pound of flesh, and they've sent a pretty clear message who's in charge and such. So I don't really expect much more than what we've seen already.
At the end of the day, Alibaba is one of the great success stories to China. So it would be stupid for the Chinese government to come in and regulate and suppress Alibaba's growth. Pabrai, he put it well, you don't want to kill the golden goose because it will stop laying golden eggs. Remember, the market is run by fear and greed. Right now, investors are very fearful of the Chinese government. But maybe this fear is overdone, and now may be a great time to purchase Alibaba. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it isn't. But Pabrai has made a big purchase in Baba stock. The last key thing that I would be remiss to point out, and that is that Charlie Munger has bought Alibaba stock as well. Munger is someone that Pabrai greatly admires. He even has a statue of him in the background of his video. I'm not sure if you noticed that. So if your investing idol is buying the stock, you've done your own research and you like the stock, then why not go ahead and buy it? These are just some of the ideas as to why Pabrai has invested heavily into Alibaba. And I've seen quite a few famous value investors who are doing the same as Pabrai. Let me know what you think. Are you buying Baba stock? I've seen in the comments that some of you are. Or do you think that it is just too risky? The Chinese stocks, just stay away from them. The Chinese government, you can't trust them. What do you think? Risk, reward? Where does Alibaba match up? I'll see you in the next video.